The Middle East conflict that has rocked global politics and energy markets for weeks saw significant shifts this weekend. A tentative ceasefire began in Lebanon, Iran made moves concerning the Strait of Hormuz, and former U.S. President Donald Trump publicly declared that a deal with Tehran may be near, though key issues remain unresolved. The 2026 conflict tied to Iran's escalating tensions with the United States and its allies has entered a new phase. On April 17, a 10-day ceasefire went into effect between Israel and Lebanon, brokered by the United States, aimed at halting weeks of intense fighting between Israeli forces and Hezbollah. This ceasefire offered critical, though fragile, respite for civilians after heavy bombardment and ground exchanges, with displaced families beginning to return home amid uncertainty.
At the same time, the Strait of Hormuz, a vital international shipping lane responsible for transporting a significant portion of the world's oil supplies, became a focal point of both diplomatic hope and strategic tension. Iran announced the strait would be open to commercial shipping during the ceasefire, a move that helped trigger a sharp drop in global oil prices. However, this opening was contested. While the Iranian government said the passage was completely open, the U.S. maintained a naval blockade on Iranian ports and insisted the strait's opening was linked to ongoing negotiations. Iran later asserted it had regained control and even closed the strait again, accusing the U.S. blockade of piracy. Amid these developments, Donald Trump made a series of public statements expressing optimism that a peace deal with Iran could be concluded soon, possibly within days, and that this would help bring an end to the broader conflict. He also stressed that the U.S. blockade would remain until such a deal was fully secured.
Trump's comments included assurances that any agreement would bolster Israeli security and involve Iran relinquishing enriched nuclear material, though U.S. officials acknowledged that critical points were still under negotiation. On the diplomatic front, Lebanon's president called for moving from this temporary ceasefire to more permanent agreements, stressing national sovereignty and defense, even as Hezbollah has yet to formally sign on to a peace deal. The conflict's impact on the global economy has been profound. Over the course of roughly 50 days of conflict, there's been an estimated $50 billion loss in crude oil production, with hundreds of millions of barrels removed from supply, the largest disruption in recent energy market history. Markets reacted strongly to these latest developments. Oil prices fell sharply as hopes of resumed shipment through Hormuz improved, and stock markets rallied on expectations of reduced geopolitical risk. Still, the situation remains fragile. Despite a temporary truce and diplomatic overtures, the U.S. naval blockade continues, and Iran's position on reopening the strait or fully committing to a negotiated settlement remains cautious and contingent on conditions.
In summary, we're seeing a complex mix of temporary ceasefires, strategic maneuvering over the Strait of Hormuz, high-stakes diplomacy, and market reactions. A broader peace agreement involving the U.S. and Iran could be close, but key disagreements and regional tensions mean nothing is guaranteed. Continued developments in the coming days will be critical.